we're going to take you live to New York straight away because this is a mayoral race that is one for the ages. This is Zohran Mamdani. He is at a rally there taking some final questions before New Yorkers go to a vote. And he is a Muslim Democrat socialist. And he is 34 years old. He's trying to become the next mayor of New York. And let me tell you, he is the favourite. The polls put him ahead anywhere from 10 to 16 points. So you can understand why this is such a shake-up. Let's listen in.
With the promise of cheaper groceries, Donald Trump ran a presidential campaign committing to lowering the cost of living. What our success will show is that it is not enough to diagnose the despair in working class Americans' lives. You have to actually deliver on the agenda. And that is what we intend to do each and every day while we are in hall.
What about the relations of members of your own party about your politics?
Look, if you're a member of my own party like Andrew Cuomo, I'd understand why you wouldn't support our politics. Because it's a direct challenge to everything that this former governor has stood for. A politics of impunity, a politics of selling out working class people at the behest of his billionaire donors, and a politics of telling New Yorkers what they can't do when really what they mean to say is what they won't do.
Jeremy, Assembly member, I know you just said that this is more, I think, naked and abashing for your words than previous associations between the two men. Were you at all surprised to see the president go this far in support of Governor Cuomo? And then also, how do you reckon, I know you've made your own pushes into voter bases that have supported Trump in 2020 or even earlier. So how do you reckon with your own appeals to Trump voters and Cuomo's?
You know, I will always speak to every New Yorker who calls the city home. And while I'm looking to speak to Donald Trump's voters, Andrew Cuomo is looking to speak to Donald Trump's donors. That's the difference here. These are New Yorkers who voted for the president in the hopes of having a lower cost of living, and who instead found that their despair was exploited as a means by which to deliver the political prosecution of Donald Trump's enemies and the enacting of the single largest deportation force in American history. Now, we knew in the primary that Andrew Cuomo was being funded by the same billionaire donors that gave us Donald Trump's second term. I did not, however, anticipate Andrew Cuomo going from being Donald Trump's puppet to being so nakedly his parrot. What he has said in these last few days, these are words that should shock the conscience of New Yorkers. He has said that diversity is a weakness, while forgetting which black host of the TV show he was on he was actually speaking to. He has laughed and agreed when a radio show host said that I would cheer on another 9/11. He has stood alongside the current mayor of this city as that mayor said that he was endorsing Andrew Cuomo to stop a movement that was burning churches in Nigeria, to stop New York City from becoming Europe. And as Deputy Majority Leader Mike Gianaris said, for Andrew Cuomo's closing message to be a call for Republicans to support him, it shows what we have long known, but what he was able to hide while he was in Albany, which is that Andrew Cuomo is interested more in his own power than in living up to the ideals that make so many New Yorkers proud to be Democrats.
All right, we're going to go Michael right here.
Okay, that is Zohran Mamdani. He is a 34-year-old Democrat socialist, and he is about to become, if the polls are right, the next New York mayor. This is something that has drawn the ire of Donald Trump from Washington. He's called him a communist and vaguely threatened to pull funding from New York if he is elected. Let me tell you a bit about Zohran Mamdani. He wants rent control in New York. He also wants things like free grocery stores. So he's an absolute socialist. Him there going head-to-head with Andrew Cuomo, who's also another Democrat. Right? There's not really any Republicans in the race here. This is Democrat v. Democrat. This is hard left and left within the Democrats. So Zohran Mamdani kind of came out of nowhere. He had a full grassroots campaign. This is all born out of social media. He really spoke to people, and then he got this huge groundswell of support. And he's been able to flip the arguments against him, like the ones that Andrew Cuomo has levelled at him, of him having no experience, against his opponent, saying, well, your experience is the problem. Talking about billionaire donors, etc., etc. So it is so fascinating to see this happening in New York City, of all places, that this Muslim Democrat socialist is on the path to victory there. He wants, very much, as I said, socialist policies put in place there, and he is a freight train unable to be stopped at the moment. This just explains a little bit of where Mamdani has come from and why he has it all over his opponents right now.
Standing on the precipice of change, New York could be just hours away from electing its first Muslim mayor and only the second Democratic socialist to lead America's biggest city.
The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it.
Even before residents of the Big Apple vote, many believe victory for Zohran Mamdani is all but guaranteed. The 34-year-old has run a smooth, social media-driven campaign focused on affordability in an increasingly expensive city.
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
One sticking point for Mr Mamdani could be his criticism of Israel, in a city with the largest Jewish population in the United States.
I look forward to being a mayor for every single person that calls this city home. And that includes Jewish New Yorkers who may have concerns or opposition to the positions that I've shared about Israel and Palestine.
Mr Mamdani won the Democratic primary in June, beating former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's now running in the election as an independent. Mr Cuomo resigned as governor in 2021 after allegations of sexual misconduct emerged, a point Mr Mamdani has targeted in election debates.
To Mr Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment.
The third candidate in the running for mayor is Republican Curtis Sliwa. However, many don't believe he's a serious contender.
I know a lot of people have laughed at me, said, oh, you're quite eccentric or crazy to have 17 rescue cats in a 328-square-foot apartment right here in the Upper West Side.
If Zohran Mamdani is elected mayor of New York, he faces an enormous battle, effectively placing his city in the firing line of Donald Trump. The US president has openly expressed his dislike for the Democratic candidate and his views.
Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
With bad blood brewing, there are fears New York could be Donald Trump's next target for a crackdown on undocumented migrants and crime, and that the president could deliver on a threat to withhold federal funding for the city.
If you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there.
Christy Lloyd, Sky News.